Okay, so I have had a love-hate relationship with the Tombow watercolor pens for a long time.
Illustrations by Pete.
So I'm going to put a picture up here of the first time I ever used these. It just was an urban sketching scene. Some people sitting in a cafe. I used the 90-pound Strathmore watercolor paper. It was okay. It was decent paper. Most of watercolor acted normal on it for regular cellulose paper. I struggle with these. You'll see there's just blooms everywhere. There's stuff popping everywhere that shouldn't be. It's messy. It got out of hand, out of control pretty quick. I learned not to use these this way. So in this video, I'm going to show you two different ways to use these. One is the way that I've learned to use them and the way that I always use them now. And the second drawing that you'll see, the second painting you'll see with them, it's not the best. It was just something abstract I was going to do. You'll see. It didn't come out the way that I wanted it to, but it never does when I use them like this. If I use them the first way that I am going to show you, it always comes out exactly how I want. If you're doing something loose, if you're doing something sketchy, these are great. And then in another video, I'm going to compare these to some other watercolor markers from Winsor Newton. They're a lot different, and the way that they lay down lends more to some other ways that I can use watercolor markers. And hang out till the end because someone did send in some art. So as promised, I'm going to put that at the end of the videos. If you send me anything, email down below. Just send me some of your art. It could be a picture of you with your art. I don't care. Just send me something, and then where to find that art if you're on Instagram or Facebook or you have a website or whatever it is. And I'm going to stick it at the end of my videos. And I got someone to send me all the way from Berlin. That's a far distance from here, but I'm so happy that he sent it in here, and I'm going to show that to you. So there are some things that I like about these markers and some things I don't like about the markers. All right, let's take a look at that. Okay, so here I'm going to start swatching these out. They're numbered colors, so they're not really named colors, but I'm going to go through all of them quickly and just show you what they look like. They're really a pretty palette. This is the muted set. It's a really nice set. It's the theme that I usually use. I usually use muted colors. And these worked really well. And this is a little bit smoother paper. This is the back side of the Canson XL, which is much smoother. So these will lay down really smooth on this. But then when I get to the other stuff, you'll see it's a little bit more textured. Alright, so I know that you are sick of seeing birch trees by now, but just bear with me here. This is how I like to test things. Every time I test a new product or a new paper, I usually do a birch tree landscape, just a quick line and wash, because not only do I love the subject, but it just comes very easily to me, and I don't have to think too much, and I can just lay down whatever I'm going to lay down, and I pretty much know what I'm going to look at. Now for me, when I do this, I always do this with paper, especially because it lets me see if the paper itself creates hard edges, or I can blend out the edges and make them a little bit softer. In this instance, everything worked well, exactly as I wanted it to work. So let me get to the first thing that I didn't like about these, and that is that they usually, any watercolor marker that you use, if you use it on smooth paper, it blends better. But it also will end up pilling the paper if you layer it. However, if you use it on cold press paper or rougher paper, it doesn't blend as smoothly, but at the same time, it doesn't pill as easily on the paper. So it's just kind of a trade-off. I use them mostly on the rougher paper because I don't want to have the pilling. I'd rather be able to layer a little bit. And if I don't get a smooth wash, that's okay. I'm not going for that anyway. If I want a smooth wash, as you'll see here, I will scratch out the color on a palette and then use that almost like regular watercolor paint. And then otherwise, I just go directly on the page. And this brings me to another point. One of the things that I really like about watercolor markers is you don't have to carry your whole palette with you. They're easy just to carry 2 or 3 colors, and just scribble them out as you need the color, and then you can use a water brush or something like that to blend out the color a little bit. You'll see here how I do it. When I put it on the palette, is usually just to get a wash when I do the background, the sky or something like that. But any kind of detail, any other stuff, you can put it right on the page and just water it out a little bit, and it kind of lends to like a shading, like a gradient shading of where the high concentration of color is. You still see that line, it doesn't blend out completely, and then it just kind of washes out from that line. So if you learn how to use these, they're very fun. That's one aspect of them I really enjoy. I like to use these for line and wash for that reason. Sometimes I will just carry a couple markers with me and my sketchbook instead of having to carry a full watercolor set. Now, something that I'm not fond on these with is, according to Tombow USA, these are not light fast. And when I do a comparison with the Winsor & Newton, those are light fast, and so I tend to use those. You know what, not only do I use those more, but I also use them a little bit differently because they don't stay on the page like that, put down such harsh color when you first put something down. And you'll see in this one, like I said, these are good for line and wash. The others are more, they're suited for line and wash also, but they're more suited for doing more than that. So with those, I can lay down color, and it's not so heavy and so intense that it doesn't move, and you can't really water that out, or you can't dilute that. And that's okay. You just have to know that going in so you know how to use them. That's all that is. But it does bother me that they're not light fast, so you really should just use these in a sketchbook. The Winsor & Newton are light fast, and so you can sell that or give that away as a gift, whereas these, I wouldn't really do that. I'd reserve this just for sketching, but the colors are beautiful. They work very well. Okay, so this falls right in line with the Tombow watercolor markers, because it's the same thing no matter what I do in my life, with art, with vlogging gear, with music equipment. It seems like I buy gear that's or equipment or supplies that are almost good enough. They're best for most things except for what I'm about to do with it. And then I enjoy forcing myself to struggle with all the flaws that I find. And that's kind of what's happening in this second drawing here. I always find the flaws of every art supply anyway, so that's normal. But then I force myself to use it that way. I don't understand what's wrong with my brain. It's like I like to torture myself. Don't do what I'm doing, because you will only frustrate yourself. So try and do it the right way. Use the things for the right thing that they're supposed to be used for. And don't do what I do. Even when music equipment, I buy a guitar, I strip it completely, put new pickups in, put new hardware on. And I still find a reason to complain about it. It's never good enough. You remember that Sharpie S-Gel video that I did, and I tried to block in large chunks of color with this little 0.7. It didn't work. It didn't work for what I needed it to work for. But I take the thing to work, I use it all day. It works great as a pen. It glides nicely. It doesn't dry out. But if you use it for the wrong thing, which is what I usually do, it usually messes up the whole experience. You don't want to do that. And so the first part of this drawing, the first drawing rather, for this video, is the way you probably should use, or at least the way for me that I find it easiest to use these pens. And then the second way is just a headache. You see, you put the lines in, they don't dissolve all the way. They're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing, or at least what I wanted them to do at the time. So it's okay, but it's not really what I wanted to do with it. So that's why I did both drawings in this one, because I wanted you to see how something can work properly, and then how something can also not work, or you use it the way that it's not supposed to work, and it doesn't come out that great. But the whole point of this was that I struggle with what I have, and I complain about what I already know that I don't like. I don't understand why. Sometimes it saves me time from learning about what I don't like about the new thing, and then I just complain about it anyway. So I have to remind myself that, look, what I have is actually better than what I should have anyway. The point I'm trying to make here is whatever you're using, whatever kind of art supplies or anything in life that you're using, it's probably too good for you anyway. Just use it until you can get something else, and then you'll have a whole new list of complaints and things to whine about that thing. So when I look at this, when I go back to this, I know I complain about stuff. I'm not trying to give it a bad name and say that it's not good. It's just that I always struggle, and everyone's going to do that. I don't think there's any such thing as the perfect anything for any situation. I really don't. I think that you can get maybe close sometimes, but really the perfect, no, it's not really perfect. It's just, it's okay. It's usable. You struggle with it, you learn, and by the time you know how to use it the right way, you're already onto something else complaining about that. So that's just how it works, at least for me. That's the way that I am. I don't know if that's you at all, but that's how I am. You know, they really should invent something on YouTube where if I start repeating myself and talking in circles, you could just push a button and it sends an electric shock to me. Because I do it a lot. I just say the same thing over and over, just different ways. But I'm really just saying the same information. I'm sorry about that. I do that a lot. So anyway, as I do this second drawing, I am coming to the realization that I'm probably doing this more disservice than it's doing to me by not using it the right way. So take that for what it's worth. And although it didn't turn out great, I had fun with it. At the end, it turned into this thing, and I started labeling it. I had fun with it anyway. It's no big deal. And you figure out a way to use these however you want. I've seen amazing art created with these things. I can't do it, but I've seen just beautiful art created with it. And it's, I guess it just depends on the artist and how much time you spend with them and how, but I've been using these since 2015. I can't figure them out, except for the way that I did the first drawing. That's the only way I figure them out. It's good enough for me. I'm happy with that. If I can just use them that way, that's fine. But I can't create the things that other people create with them. I don't know what they're doing. Some kind of voodoo. They've got to deal with somebody, and they're just creating stuff. Okay, so here's the end result. One on the left is the way that I like to use them. One on the right is the way that I don't like to use them. You may like both of them. You may like one more than the other, and it might be the opposite compared to what I like. But whatever it is, that's great and wonderful. And don't go anywhere, because I'm about to show you this art. He's putting some stuff up on Instagram. He's got a few things up there. I really like this one. I think it's very interesting to look at. There's a lot of details, a lot of things to focus on. There's eyes everywhere. There's little pictures in there. It's a great drawing. I really like it. So I'll share that with you in the links down below. And go check it out. And if you like it, support him. Drop him a comment. Let him know that you saw it here. And I'll see you in the next one.